Now we want to turn to Egypt and the latest chapter in that country's year-long struggle for democracy. There have been days of angry street protests against Islamist President Mohamed Morsi's attempt to seize almost total power. But today, the Muslim Brotherhood, the movement that supports Morsi, is responding by summoning what they describe as a million-man march in Cairo. And Holly Williams is there. Holly, good morning.
Good morning, Rebecca and Anthony. Well, thousands of President Morsi's supporters have taken to the streets today, but it follows days of protest by his opponents, who accuse the president of behaving like a dictator. On Tahrir Square in Cairo yesterday, tens of thousands of protesters converged again. Their outrage is directed at President Mohamed Morsi and his Islamist allies, who dominate the panel that wrote the draft of Egypt's new constitution. It could now be put to a referendum before the end of the year. The draft constitution gives Islamic Sharia law a bigger role. It also empowers the state to protect morals and values, but there are few details on what that means. And a clause that specifically guaranteed equality for women was removed. Lillian Wagdi is a blogger who believes the draft constitution could be used to violate her rights.
You take your salary from my taxes. You have no right to tell me how to live my life, how to dress, how to talk. You have no right to put me in jail because I'm expressing my opinion on the internet or in the streets. And this is what they did in the constitution.
On Tahrir Square, Egyptians from many walks of life agree with her. Ahmed Hamdi is an ultra-conservative Muslim. He told us that if Egyptians want democracy, the constitution should represent all segments of society, not just the Islamists. Egypt's revolution of 2 years ago was supposed to mark the birth of a new democracy. But some here now fear that one group of Egyptians is trying to impose their own views on everyone else. Well, President Morsi is making a political gamble. He's betting the majority of Egyptians will vote for this constitution, and if he's right, he will tighten his grip on power. But if President Morsi is wrong, if Egyptians reject this constitution, then they're also rejecting the president's Islamist vision for Egypt. Rebecca and Anthony.
Holly, how likely is it that this draft document actually becomes the constitution?
Well, we may know in 15 days when it's put to a referendum. It's difficult to say. Some Egyptians may decide that any constitution is better than no constitution. But it's worth bearing in mind that when he won the presidential election, Mr. Morsi did so with a majority of less than 52%.
Holly, does it look like there's any end to this standoff in sight?
Well, his opponents say that they will keep protesting until he rescinds the extra powers that he gave himself last week. And in fact, some of them I was speaking to yesterday said that they would do anything they could to disrupt this referendum that's coming up probably before the end of the year.
Holly Williams in Cairo. Thank you, Holly.